And then he said, so what's going on in your heart? What is bothering you? Da, da, da. I said, yeah, this is the issue that I'm facing. Should I stay in ODPC or should I go back to my old church? And then he goes like, what does the Lord really want you to do? Like, I don't know. That's why I'm here. So that I could get prayed over by you, right?
Hey everyone, welcome to the B-Sides. I'm Eric, your host, and today for our guest we have Miss Wangin. Hi, Miss Wangin.
Hello everyone.
How you
This
doing?
is Wangin B.
What you do this week?
This week, as a county employee, we're already planning a 2024.
Yeah.
So we have this new initiative, which is like equity with outreach. So we're trying to bring, especially during the month of February, where there's a lunar holiday. So we're trying to bring people aware what lunar holidays are. I mean, people do talk about it, but what is it? So actually, I'm planning a program at one of the Fairfax County facility, which is it's going to be at the Twin Lake.
Gotcha.
So that's what I've been planning.
What's that one community event that you try to get people from CCPC to go through every year?
I've been doing for the last 17 years, which is called Colmore Community Day.
Yeah, it's Colmore.
Yeah. So that's where I really believe where community needs to really connect with government agencies and nonprofit organizations where they may not know the resources.
Sure.
So that's why I started this event in 2006 or 5.
You started it, or you?
I started
Wow, you
it.
started. Okay, did not know that. So what's the main purpose of it?
So the Kumar area is a very diverse area. And not only that, it is a very marginalized community. And as an immigrant child, I know how much we need the resources, but we don't know where to get it. So being a county employee, I thought, we have so much resources in our area, and yet if you don't speak the language, if you don't know where to go, I thought maybe we should create a community day to bring all these nonprofit organizations to government agencies to provide the resources to these marginalized and this community of different nationality. So that's the way it started 2005 or 2006.
Wow,
I think.
it's almost 20 years now.
Yeah. So but it can't just stop by myself. I have a lot of good connection with the supervisor's office to government agencies. So that's why we have a planning committee, and we began this community day back in 2006, I think, 2005.
Sure. How many attendees come down every
Usually
year?
500 to 600.
500 to 600. Wow. Okay. So that's a lot to manage.
Yeah. So people don't have transportation. So people are walking. Because that area is like Kumar, Bailey's Cross. And a lot of people do not have car. So they walk in to just pick up the brochures about the food stamps, the children's activity, or other issues like immigrant laws to like housing information. Or most of them are really concerned about the health insurance. So we provide those information out there too. And then also we're trying to bring their cultural interest. So we have a lot of Peruvian people say, hey, we'd like to perform. So we bring the Peruvian dance group out at that community day. Or I have Mexican mariachi band. They'll come and do the performance.
Yeah.
We have people from Salvadorian people doing their stuff, Bolivian groups. Even we have some Korean youth came into the orchestra like a couple years ago. It's something that God is, even though it's not a really church work, but it's sort of like my calling to really help the community where community is the most.
Sure.
So again, I think God put me in that place for some reason. I don't know how I got in there. I started with a social worker, and then I become community outreach educator.
Yeah.
To bring that resource out to the marginalized and diversity community.
Yeah. So talking about your work in the community, I think knowing you, Wangin, for probably like 20 some years now, I think if anyone knows Miss Wangin, missions is always the forefront of your mind. That's something that you really devoted a large portion of your life to, honestly. So I wanted to ask, what does missions mean to you personally, and kind of what inspired you to devote such a large portion of your life to missions?
So I think last year was my 30 years of organizing a short-term mission.
Oh, wow. 30 years.
30 years, yeah. And I didn't even know until I got there and thought, oh my gosh, This is my 30 year, 1993, yes. 92, I'm sorry. So when I was 27, I think. And also it was in Mexico City. So again, 30 years later, I was back in Mexico
Bring it
City.
right back. Yep.
Yeah, it was like kind of wow, deja vu. So again, even this year, when I was looking at some of the volunteers and some of the staffs at the Pozo de Vida, I was like, it was just amazed to see how Mexicans are so serving their own community members, especially, marginalized and like in red light districts and the safe house and all that. I remember back in 1992, when I was serving in Mexico City with some of the volunteers, I think they came because we are there. Not because they love the Lord or anything like that. They just want to come and see these Asian, Korean American people coming in. They just want to see us there. And I think one day I was telling them, hey guys, I'm leaving this place after 3 days later. But these are your group. These are your people. These are your people that you need to serve and love. And that was 30 years ago. I shared with some of the volunteers. And then 30 years later, how much God has blessed the people of Mexico and how Mexicans are really serving the people. And I was so blessed by that. Again, something I said in 30 years, and then 30 years later, I'm seeing the results of what I said. And God is so faithful to bring people to serve in that area. So how do I get into mission? I guess, I don't know. I think it was as being a youth pastor back in when I was 27, 28. That's something you do. Like in the summertime, they say, okay, Wangin, you need to prepare for a short-term mission. And okay, I have never been to short-term mission in my life. Okay, if I need to do it, then I guess I have to do it. So I remember being taught from some of the very traditional Korean 전도사님들 or the youth pastors.
Was that CCPC still?
No,
or
it was
different
with
church?
the Korean Evangelical Church in Annandale.
Gotcha, yeah.
So, they're very, 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 very disciplined. So one of the things they asked me was make sure all the members has to come 새벽 예배, which is early sunrise service. So I remember waking up all these kids, 5:30 in the morning, calling them, say, okay, be at church by 6 o'clock. We're going to have, sunrise service. And I mean, it was like hardcore training. I mean, we had a fasting for a couple of nights. We went to one of the, the prayer house, and we did stay a couple of nights there to just prepare ourselves physically and spiritually. I don't know how I did it again, but that was sort of thing in that 30 some years ago, and that's how we did that. And then after coming back from my first mission trip, and I thought, there's so many people are suffering, and coming back to Nova is more like, wow. I remember one of the kids, I think she was 13-year-old, and she's like,
sure.
You know what? I would not take 13-year-olds to mission trip if I was now. That was crazy. I don't know how I did it, but I took 12, 13-year-old kids to the mission field.
That's tough, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was only adult, and then I have 15 other kids. And I remember this one child, boy, she's 13, and was like, I don't understand why they're so hungry. Well, they call me Chondo, which means a youth pastor. It's like, what do you mean by you don't understand? Like, I mean, you just open the refrigerator and there's food there. And then when I took them to see that whole thing, it's like, oh, now I know why they're hungry all the time.
Sure.
And they saw how people are living in just one room with the chicken and pig, everybody coming in one night, and then everybody sleeping in that one little squat-looking place. And then I think one of the girls like, now I understand why people are hungry, because they don't have it.
So was that also one of your first time seeing situations like that as well? So even though they were feeling in a similar way, do you think you also took that as well? Yeah.
Well, not exactly. I knew, because I'm older than they are, so I know what they are. But I think when they said, like, if they're hungry, you open the refrigerator, isn't that like? And then I said, well, let's see what happened in that country, what happened in that place. So I remember there are 12 of us are going there, and then it was eye-opening for the kids and also for myself too.
Sure.
And then coming back, and I think since then, I know I'm not called to be a lifetime mission, but God gave me a gift of mobilizing it and raising funds. I mean, I'm really good at that. And so, I don't know. I mean, not because I'm really good at it, but somehow God just gave me that sort of, I don't know, like opportunity that where I could go and get people and mobilize and encouraging people to go. So after that mission trip, I thought, okay, then I'll go back again. So from 1992 to 2000, I was going back every year from the same place. So, and then, I stopped. I came home from Texas to here, and just a lot of things happened. But then again, the short term, like the mission never really left me. I think it's kind of a little bit of my great story is that when I was I served as a youth pastor here in Nova and Philly for a couple years. And right after my graduation from seminary, I was called to go to Texas, Houston. So I was there from 1994 through 2000. So I was kind of burnt out and I didn't want to do anything. So I came home and I was telling God that I don't want to do anything. I don't want to serve. I don't want to do any ministry. I don't want to even go back to my mom and dad's church. I mean, when they saw me, I was here. Well, we need to get her to our church to serve. And I said no. And my dad and my mom got really disappointed because, this is your home church.
Right, yeah.
No, I don't want to be part of anything. Right now, I'm physically, mentally, I'm really worn out. I've been doing for the last 10 years, nonstop. And being a single woman, not married, I was 36, 35, I guess. And then not married, and just a lot of these things are just going through my head. And I said, no, I'm not going back to home church. And I'm just going to rest. And I remember telling my mom and dad, can I not just work at all for a whole year? And I know I have to be depending upon you guys.
Yeah.
I was youth pastor. There's nothing saved up. There's,
Sure.
The only thing I have in my car, actually, I was able to ship it from Texas, Houston to here. That was it. And then, so my mom goes, okay, you could rest, but can you come to church? It's like, no, Mom, what did I say? I don't want to do anything. And then she was a little upset, but then I think she knew that what I was going through. So I think for the year 2000, I came to Nova area, and then I didn't go back to my mom's church. And then I just want to go to church that nobody knows me. And there was KCPC.
Interesting, because my family came to KCPC around 2002, so I didn't know that I just assumed you've been there for the entire time.
No,
I had no
2000
idea.
year 2000 August, I was here, and then nobody knew me. I went in, had a worship, that was in Vienna campus.
Yeah.
And I was doing for a couple months, and then somebody saw me. I was like, Wangin! I looked, and I was like, oh no. And then the KCPC youth at the time, there was a children pastor. She was like, oh, I didn't know you're back. Can you help us out? No, I'm just resting. And then one of the church members said, Wangin, we're having a Bible study. No, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to go worship and come back. I don't want to do anything. So I was doing it for almost 6-7 months like that. And then something hit me. I guess kind of internally struggling. What are you doing, Wangin? You've been resting really well. What are you doing? And then, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? I've been burnt. I've been really having a hard time. Physically, mentally, I am really not well to do anything. And then all of a sudden, somebody said, oh, we're having a discipleship training. And I'm like, went through all that.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Been done there. I even went to seminary. Yeah. That's almost like a prideful heart. But I said, why not? So I signed up. And during that discipleship training, I think I'm beginning to get really see me as who I am in God. And one day I was just reading through something, and it said, physically, he showed me the hands. And then, Wangin, you are in my hands. You want to run away? You stay in my hands. And then I just broke down and said, Lord, I've been hurt. I've been going through so much in my life that I didn't know what to do. But now on, whatever you want me to do, I'll be obedient. And then at that point, I said, okay, Lord, then I'm going to be committed to serve, committed to come, going to the membership training, all that. And at the time, back in there, they did have a mission team, but somehow KCP also stopped. Well, at the time, yes, what do we call it? I forgot. We weren't Christ Central, something else.
Was it just KCP's EM?
Yes, something like that. And then, and I was serving. And at the same time, I got hired as a Fairfax County employee.
Right.
And then I was getting this kind of, how Koreans are they love going to one area doing big way. Oh yeah, we're serving the homeless people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's no follow-up. There's no continuous doing it.
Yep.
Same thing, mission trip. Oh, we're going to go to like Burma. We're going to go to China. Done, and let's try another
Out of our
place.
head. Yeah.
So I almost like, this is like more like a traveling, having fun.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
and then I think they went to China, they went to Mexico, and then we had a missionary. We did send missionary to Mexico, Pastor Ike and Helen Yu. And I was like praying like, oh, maybe I should think about going to short-term mission to Mexico. And I'm thinking maybe one of the pastor could lead it. And they are so busy and said, Wangin, we'll support you. I'm like, if you want to go, we're going to support you. And that was 2005, I believe.
Okay,
2005 was my first mission to Mexico, northern part of Mexico. And then again, and that mission is, again, I didn't have to do it, but something just triggers me. It's like, oh my God, there's something that I need to do. So that's why I started in 2005 with the Christ Central. That I began 2005 and 2006, both in Pastor Ike's place. And then something happened, I think. 2006 and 2006 we did that, and 2007 and 8, church was going through some hard time, as you know.
Yeah.
And I had a really issue with some of the pastors, and I thought, I'm not growing. I think one thing that really, it's also my pride heart, got me really mad was my oldest missionary friend from Mexico. At the time, in 2008, I believe, there's El Nino going through in Mexico City.
Right, yep.
Outside of Mexico, and they're having a really, really cold winter.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I served back in 2000 are like suffering really bad. And I think, he doesn't really send me a letter, and he said, do you think your church could help us out? And I said, yeah, let me find out. What they're looking for was blanket and winter clothes, like a winter jacket. It was like a couple $100, something like that. And then I did talk to the pastors, and, oh no, Wangin, they're not part of our MTW. You know me. What?
I can see it. I'm envisioning it right now.
I said, when people are hungry, they knock on your door, they come, and what do? You open the door and you feed them. I don't get it. Like, I was and then at that time, the church was going through a really hard time, so I don't think they have that funding and all that. I was like, I got so mad. I just, okay, never mind. And I started sending email to all my friends, and I was able to raise about $2,000. Just email.
Awesome, yeah.
And then I just said, I think at the time, my missionary friend name was a Missionary Rod, and I said, Missionary Rod, this is all that I could raise funding for you, and then I'm going to send it to you and to do whatever. And he said he bought blankets and clothes for the kids. After that, I don't want to be here. So I left. And then I went to ODPC. The funny thing was, ODPC is very, very like community outreach sort of kind of mode, which is like they serve every Saturday. The ODPC area, the 100 years are also a very diverse and marginalized community. They have a clinic, they feed, lunch, a breakfast for every Saturday morning. I really love that actually. That's something. For my vision was like, I wanted something like this to happen in our Christ Central before I left. But nobody was like, but when I went to ODPC, they're having that already. So I was really like getting into it, involved with it. And then all of a sudden, they said, oh, we're going to go to Peru for a mission trip. I was like, really? Then I'll sign up. And again, this time I'm not leading it. I'm just going to follow. Guess what? There's not a really good leadership. So I ended up took over, even though I was not a member of it. And then I have to come up with all the scheduling, the quiet time, what we're going to do, and da-da-da. And then I'm thinking, Lord, I thought I was going to just follow them. What am I doing here? And then, anyway, so I went to Peru. That was 2010. I was with the ODPC. After coming back, something was stirring my heart because I was not signing up with ODPC at all. I was still like going but serving, but I was not a member. And then all my friends from your mom and Tammy, Miss Sunny Park, and all of like, we're moving into Centerville, Wangin. You should just come. Nothing is happening here. Our holiday basket stopped and nobody's doing anything because he left and da-da-da. I was like, I was kind of going through some turmoil, like, oh my God, my friend wants me to come back. So the ODPC has a Thursday night prayer meeting, and ODPC is a little bit charismatic than a CCPC.
Sure. Yeah.
So the Thursday prayer meeting is really like very,
Gung-ho.
very
Yep.
spirit-filled. So one time they said, oh, there's a new pastor. They invite some pastor who has a power of prayer. So I was like, okay, Lord, you need to give me a really clear direction.
Sure.
If you answer this prayer, whether I stay in ODPC, then I'll have to go to the membership. But if you want me to go back to the CCPC, then you have to give me a clear direction. If I go back there, I cannot questioning, I cannot be angry at them. I have to be really obedient to your Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need to give me that clear direction. So I went in Thursday, the prayer, and the people are already coming and they already start praying. And then I really want to get prayed by that pastor, but the line was pretty long. And I think it was like we kept praying and hoping, oh, by 9 o'clock, maybe my time will come.
Actually.
No, people are still praying.
Yeah.
10 o'clock, I'll make it, but still. And finally, 11 o'clock. I have to go to work next day, right?
Yeah.
11 o'clock came. And then he said, oh, so what's going on in your heart? What is bothering you? I said, yeah, this is the issue that I'm facing. Should I stay in ODPC or should I go back to my old church? And then he goes like, what does the Lord really want you to do? Like, I don't know. That's why I'm here. So that I could get prayed over by you, right? And then he goes like, okay, let me pray for you. And he said, it was kind of repentance of prayer.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the next time. I was on the floor. I get this, what do you call it? Slayer spirit.
Sure.
When he put the hands on me, I was knocked down and I was like, I was overwhelmed with the spirit. I started crying, Lord, like, forgive me for my own pridefulness. This thing just came out of nowhere. And then I think I still love my church. I still love my CCPC. Out of my rebellious heart, I left the church just because they didn't listen to me. And I think it's time to repent and go back. So that's why that December of 2010, I came back. And that's when we had a holiday basket. That's when we had a 50 basket.
How many do we have now? We have
450.
450. Yeah. Wow.
So it was, and then that Peru mission was back in my mind. And 2011 is you guys.
Yep.
Everybody
you still remember.
No, I'm sorry. 2011 is with the small group. 2012 with the whole, we have over 30 people came to that mission trip. And again, as I'm looking back and forth, even though I left the church briefly and came back, but mission, whether it was a global mission or local mission, it's not that I wanted to do it. Somehow God just put me in that situation. I was simply obedient to his call to do it. Even though my body is Wangin, you're getting old. It's too tired to do. I even just coming back from the Mexico, wow, I don't know how long I could do that, But again, if Lord is calling me to do it, then I have to be obedient.
Sure.
And I have to be giving all my heart and my mind to serve him.
Gotcha.
With that,
yeah. So I noticed a common refrain in a lot of these stories is obedience to God, right? And all of these times. When you, nowadays, now that you've gone through all those times of, struggling for obedience and then coming back, when you feel like you're being disobedient now, how do you think you're able to kind of write that in your own mind and kind of preparation,
You know what? I think even I am disobedience, he is still faithful.
Right.
I think that is that I become obedient to it. If I feel like, oh my gosh, I did something wrong and I have a disobedience to God and he's not going to like it, then I'd be fearful and scared to run away. But knowing that I'm going to be constantly disobedient to him, it's not like, because I'm a broken human being.
Right.
But because of that promise, even though you are that person, I'll be with you again.
Right.
I think that's the reason that I still stand and commit. And then again and again, I come to him.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think one of the things I always have to remind myself is there's nothing I could do to make God love me anymore, and there's nothing I could do to make God love me even less, right? And I think that what you've been saying is really just showcases that in its totality. But that's awesome, Ms. Wang. I really didn't even know all that of your story, even though we've known each other for 20 years now.
Yeah. So again, like when I see a lot of young people, my heart is aching because I know what they're looking for is better life. I know they want it to be successful in everything. Because especially living in Nova area, you look at how other people live, and sometimes they become their goal. Finding a stable job, not just stable job, but also making good money, living in a nice area, doing all that. But again, it's not worth it when you're following Christ. And I think that's the reason that as I'm getting older these days, I really want to disciple young people to really love the Lord by serving others. Because I think a lot of times, long as I'm okay physically, then I challenge. Like long as I live in a good house, I have a job, I have a husband, I have a wife, I have kids.
Sure.
Then you don't look beyond that. But then we are more than that. I think we are created to worship and glorify Him. Yes, of course, through families and having, families to make glorify God, but it's more than that. So I think that's something that I really want to leave legacy to our younger generation, saying, I went through it. I did live the life, but again, at the end is glory of God, nothing else.
Right.
That in glory is our God's glory. So so that's something that I really want to encourage and challenge our younger generation of our church members. Yeah.
I think it's great to know that you really wouldn't have had that perspective if you didn't have those really big struggles, honestly, in your life. But now that you have, even though you can't just tell people, like, oh, you should think this way because, I've experienced this, that you can walk with them while they're experiencing things like that. And then as they come to probably similar realizations, and then, maybe not end up exactly where you are right now, but kind of helping guide them and, walking alongside them. And I see you doing that with so many missions partners, with the people who've gone with you on missions. And I'm sure maybe without consciously knowing it, have thought that, it's good to have a spiritual mentor who's been through a lot of the similar things in life, right? So with all these challenges that you have faced personally, what are some challenges you face when preparing for missions specifically? And these can be like a little bit more tangible, could be like money issues, as you were saying earlier, or yeah.
I'll be honest. Yes, sometimes I get very stressed over for money. But I realize that when I look back for the last 30 years of my short-term mission life, He provides it.
Right.
Even if I worry and anxious about it, but in yet I go back to the same mode. I kept saying, Wangin, why are you doing this? He provides it. But like, Lord, I know. Even this year, like, we have to have about $20,000 to raise. And, again, God provided just like that. And I was like, He is amazing God. And my challenge is this. I think I want people to go out. I think sometimes I have seen people going out with me. I want other people to go out and see how God is doing in this world. And everybody thinks, because I'm ministering to my family. Oh, I'm ministering to my friends. That's all good. That's good too. I'm not saying that's bad. But once you step out of your comfort zone and then see what God is doing, and that person is able to experience a God in a mighty way. And that's something I'm struggling with, that is like, He is waiting for you to really experience that.
Right.
So I really want next year, if we're going back, I really want to see some of the new people.
Sure.
To just come out of the little bit of comfort zone and then just go and see. And He does provide mightily. Yeah.
What are some ways you think that you would like to see CCPC grow in terms of our fulfilling our duty of missions? Because I'm going to be honest, like in the past 20 years, I think that's probably one of the areas we've struggled to grow in the most, despite, leadership changes and all these different things. It's always remained an issue that we've wanted to push forward, but the personnel makes it hard, So what are some ways we could combat that?
Well, I don't want to be so critical about that, but I think it's the leadership. They have to live, they have to walk, they have to believe in it.
Sure.
because a lot of times when I see our leadership or our pastor staffs, mission is sort of like an extra curriculum for the church activities. But mission is life.
Right. Yeah.
And I think you have to live and breathe upon. I think that's the reason that I am where I am with my work. Again, I am constantly seeing, even though we're living most affluent, most rich, and most expensive area that we're living in, but we still have over 5,000 homeless people living in this area.
Sure.
Half of them are children. We have a lot of refugees from Middle East, and I see those people constantly. And through these people, I'm making programs. I create a resources for them. So again, when you don't go out of your comfort, you're not going to see it. But once you come out of that comfort zone, you could see it. Like even Lamb Center, we have shelters for those men that are roaming around the Fairfax area. Even Second Street, you see a lot of teens are homeless. And WFCM is Western Fairfax Christian Ministries also with providing food and housing and utility bill, even health. So those things are constantly coming at us. But if you're only looking at your families and your area, you're not going to be able to see it.
What are some things we could do right now that are, available opportunities that we need more assistance in?
So it's there. We have planning center. We have that church website. We put those things in there. But people doesn't really go in there unless our senior pastor say, "Hey guys,"
a big announcement.
Yeah, and then they will just go. But I do believe it's from top to down. And I believe that if our pastors, our elders are really missionary mind and really live out for that faith, I think then it's going to start.
Sure. Maybe that will...
that's something that I really want to encourage our... Yes, I know they all have busy life. I know they all have their own ministry. But I feel like our church is more like inner ministry than outer ministries.
Right,
that's something that I see it. For last 20 years, we've been always taking care of us like in.
Sure.
But we need to start outside.
Sure.
That's how we see the growth. And again, I am praying for our church to revive, and I'm really praying for that. There has to be a time we cannot just live for ourselves, and that time will come. And again, that I think coming back from this year's Mexico mission trip, something really triggers me is that there's ladies at the safe house. They pray 24 hours for the girls who are rescued. They call intercessory prayers. I pray. I pray for church. I pray for all that. And when we came back from the mission trip, we had some issue at youth. And some of the parents are really concerned about how youth and all that happened. And I'm thinking, back in Mexico City, there was a woman praying for these girls 24/7. How come I am not praying for our youth? And I'm even going there to pray for these girls who are rescued. But I didn't really understand to pray for our youth. I'm thinking, they're okay. Their parents are okay. They're doing all okay. But spiritually, they are decaying. Spiritually, they're rebellious. And I think they have thoughts of suicidal thoughts. They are having very evil thoughts and rebellious hearts. And all these things happen because we're not praying for the kids. So something just triggered me and said, Wangin, you need to start praying. So what I did was, maybe I should start intercessory prayer for our youth. So during the service, I go to, there's a little room right next to Pastor Hugh's office, and I just go in there while they're having worship. Start praying for our youth. And then I heard something about our bridges having some problems too. When it comes together to serve, everybody's their own agenda. And again, there's some relational problem. Always there's a lot of relational problem. They don't talk to each other. Once is here, once is there, even at the church. And I realized that it is our sinful nature that we have not been repent before the Lord. And I think we need to really pray and seek His guidance and healing upon both youth, our bridges, even our others. So that's something that really God is really nudging my heart to pray these days.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely a lot of great places to start. And I think we are looking currently for missions pastors. So hopefully that'll alleviate some. But I agree. I think it does come from top down. And, our pastors have, they've done a good job at some level. And we're always constantly reevaluating our own.
It's
our
a
own
mission.
purposes.
Yeah. You're right. I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. I'm just saying it's a calling.
Yeah.
It's a calling that has to be the baseline for it. The mission is baseline. It's not like, I think I heard a lot of my friends say, oh, after I retire, I'll serve. But my thing is this, if you don't serve right now, you're not going to be able to do it.
Sure.
Because it's not in your life.
It's kind of like tithing.
Yes. It's the life. It's the life when you say, if it's now is the time, now is the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people say, well, after my kids are grown up, then I'll be more free to do it. No, do it now with your kids.
Sure.
You could just go to Lamb Center with your kids. You could go to Second Story, serving the breakfast Saturday with your daughters and sons. It's out there.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to make your little sacrifice to do that. But we're not willing to sacrifice that.
Yeah. Sounds like you're saying just do it,
Yes.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
If you have any inkling of
if Lord is nudging your heart right now, do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until next 5 years.
Don't wait for an opportunity to come up. Maybe make your own opportunity. That's because that's kind of what you did, honestly, at some level.
That's the reason that I've been doing it. I think I don't really okay, Lord, I'm going to do next year. I think God just sent me something right here and said, okay, Wangin, you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And then I just, okay, Lord, I'm going to be obedient to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Ms. Wangin, we've talked all this time about the challenges of missions work and all these things. And while those are definitely at the forefront of our minds a lot of time, I'm sure you've been able to grow a lot and just experience such joy in your missions, or else you probably wouldn't have been able to continue doing up to this time. So I was wondering, do you have any kind of specific grace stories regarding missions where you've experienced that joy, where you've seen joy in other people, and that's kind of reminded you of the gospel, throughout these 25, 30 years of you doing missions? I'm sure there's tons of memories in mind, but
I think for me, anytime I see one of my team members are just in presence of the Lord, you could see it. And when they see at the work of God in those places, in their face, in their way of their life, that manifests into it, that just makes me really happy. It's just like, especially when young people, like Tommy and Justin are the most faithful boys who's been going with my mission for last 10, 15 years. And sadly, Justin's not with us. But
at a different church, she's not dead.
Yes. Not with us, means like not with us in the CCPC. But Tommy has been really, I'm just seeing him growing in that way, just encourages me and then makes me really happy. And again, every mission is different, and yet every mission has a different sense of, how do you say this? Like, overall it's the same,
sure,
but it's a different people with a different time and different opportunity where you see how God works in their life. And that makes me really happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have a favorite mission trip that you remember?
I think every mission trip
you can't say every mission trip is long. You must have one. There's one mission trip
that I think it was a 2016 when we were on, we knew this is going to be our last with Peru. Mm-hmm. We're at this church in Loncadora. I think some of them, all Peru mission team probably know. This is like in the mountain area. There's no tree. Very dusty. It's a very small church. It's in the dirt area. We were gathering around. We were encouraging the Peruvian brothers and sisters. And I remember Nathaniel Kim were breaking down, and he was crying and he was praying. That image will never leave me. That little boy, well, now he's not a little boy anymore, but that his heart has, that's something that God just showing to the Nathaniel's heart was really amazing. And also that I remember we were in front of over 2,000 people. They thought we were some kind of K-pop group, but we did Anna Kim was orchestrating some dance, the praise dance. And we're at this stage, and we're just doing it in front of this over 2,000 people. Everyone's yelling and screaming like, oh, this is what it mean by the fighters, you know? That was something that I could never forget at the 2016 Pro Mission Trip. Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
I think I remember, was Tommy on that trip?
Yeah,
I think I
Tommy and
remember them
Justin,
tell-
they're all in
yep,
it.
Yep.
We practiced that song and dance. I remember Juno was also trying to get that mood into it. Like, yeah, that was crazy mission trip in 2016. Yeah.
Well, it must be good to remember all these good times.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for sharing so much, Wang. I think just hearing your heart for missions is so inspiring and hopefully, pushes the future generation, as you said, because it's
my
not like
prayer.
something you can honestly continue doing for the next 30
Oh,
years.
no. Probably next 5 years, maybe.
Maybe 5 years. All right, we'll try to get replacements up till then, but we'll see. But
Yeah.
thanks so much for sharing this, Wang, and I hope you had a good time.
Thank you so
today.
much for inviting me.
Yeah, but thanks for everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.